Here we go. So, lean in.
Okay.
So, Seb, welcome to Mewstone, although you've been here with us for
A little while.
a few weeks.
A few weeks now, yeah.
A few weeks.
New but not new.
So Seb is joining us as our new insurance advisor, and Seb's really experienced. So you've been giving insurance advice for how long now?
Over 6 years now.
Wow.
So
really experienced, and what we've brought Seb on specifically to just give us even better support for customers and their protection needs, and that could be mortgage customers, but it doesn't have to be exclusive to mortgage customers. We've got clients that are looking at later life borrowing, commercial borrowing, and all sorts. So Seb's here to provide like a more comprehensive, ongoing protection support service for our clients. One of the big areas that you help customers with is something called general insurance, but for the public, that is buildings and contents insurance.
Home insurance generally, yeah.
Yeah, home
Or
insurance.
tenants insurance, and for landlords as well.
And tell us a little bit about the difference between using someone like you and getting advice from you compared to maybe going and trying to arrange buildings and contents insurance yourself.
Yeah, so the advantage of using a broker is you get a policy basically arranged for you, which effectively means when you have your mortgage offer, you get a list of criteria on that, and they ask for a certain standard of buildings insurance to be in place.
Yeah. Most
online providers don't always cover this, which is having a select group of insurers we use to make sure that's always covered gives you the maximum protection for your mortgage. As well as that, we obviously review it for you on an annual basis as well to make sure it's still the best one for you. We can advise you on all the different options because, as most people tend to see on the comparison sites, it's a bit of a minefield.
Yeah.
And also we only use the providers that give you the highest chance of actually getting money out if you need to claim. Whereas a lot of the cheaper ones online, they have claim stats of around 50%. So
yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, that's a 1 in 2. Would you want to risk your home on that?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? So we see loads of customers that think, right, I could go online, I could save myself £100 a year, £150 a year. You know, and we do see that. You know, that is an option. But where we've arranged home insurance for our clients, we've had 2 real big scenarios over the last sort of couple of years where customers needed to make a pretty substantial claim because their boilers exploded, you know, and their central heating systems failed. And actually,
break-in, or there's so many. I mean, over the 6 years, I've had all sorts of clients that have tried to claim on policies, realised that they're cheap for a reason, and then not been able to claim, and it's cost in some cases tens of thousands.
Yeah, that's a real big thing as well. Having someone like Seb in the building is that if anyone ever does need to make a claim, Seb is here to hold your hand a little bit through that, and we can get hold of the relevant parties to help claims get made. So you've got an extra layer of insurance via having him here to speak to the relevant people to help with the claim as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point, isn't it? We had a customer that had gone direct to their insurance company to make a claim, and were pretty much sort of fobbed off, but we were able to help support that client with that claim, and actually we were able to help them with their claim successfully. So, you know, as well as going to the insurance company to put in your claim and try and, you know, get the money out that you need, you've got us providing you with the advice initially, but then helping you throughout that claim process as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've had multiple stories where I've contacted people quite high up in the insurance companies that we use, like LV, for example. I know one of the top guys in the whole company quite well, so I've managed to get 3 or 4 claims actually reopened and looked at and had better results. I also have good relations with our other insurers like PemInsure and NewInsure as well, who we use all the time, and I've built good relationships with them to be able to get them to have another look at claims which could have been turned down in the first instance because the insurer couldn't be bothered to look at it, which can happen. They didn't send out assessors, which can happen, but all these things add to the service that we can offer here to be able to provide more of a, well, as you say, holistic protection across the whole thing.
And you've literally been helping hundreds of customers every year, so you are the expert for home insurance. And I think, going back to like the cost side of things, you got a customer that maybe wants to save, like say, £100 a year, but then something major catastrophic happens in their property,
ends up costing thousands.
And even if it costs them an extra £200, to be able to repair the issue or deal with what they need to claim on, then it's not worth trying to scrimp on the monthly premium, just to keep your costs down when actually your insurance isn't going to actually pay out.
No, 100%, and we have it all the time, and generally when you explain it to people, because it's not the client's fault, because you're not told this, you're not told it in school, you're not taught about any financial advice at all, really. The first advice you get is when you buy a house, effectively. So most people aren't told about the need to have a correct home insurance or life insurance or whatever other type of insurance you're looking at in place, because they don't realise what can go wrong. Whereas we're obviously trained professionals in this. It's what we do day in, day out. And that's why our job exists, to be able to provide that advice.
We do generally have, we genuinely have the customer's best interests at heart.
Exactly.
I think that's when it goes to comparison sites, and I think people only find out the small print when they go to make a claim, don't they?
Exactly.
It's all cushy and cheap and everybody's happy until you go to make a claim, and that's when I guess people have regrets of not actually speaking to someone like Seb and take the advice that he's given. He can tailor solutions based on your own circumstances, and everybody's different, what they need and what they want. Everyone's scenario is different, but how do you know what you're getting unless you are taking advice from someone? I think it's so important. It's so overlooked by not only just the general public, but by the brokers as well.
I think another thing as well is, the public's possible misconception is that to speak to someone like yourself to get advice about your insurance is going to cost money. But the reality is there are no fees charged for insurance advice. So there are no fees separate to the actual insurance cost. For getting advice with a professional such as Seb, who has access to the whole of the market and is an expert in helping hundreds of clients every year arrange the right home insurance. So there are no additional costs. And I was going to ask as well, obviously we get loads of customers that say to us, I've found it cheaper online. What are the sort of typical things that you find these cheaper insurance policies don't have included within them compared to the more expensive ones?
There's all sorts of things that can be not included, but the biggest thing is probably the lack of payout on claims. Because when you fill out the comparison sites, they ask you 400 different questions. Is your house near water? Which most clients say no, because you can't see any, but 75% of all properties in the UK are within 400 metres of water statistically. So the chances are you probably are. You tick yes or no, or the wrong answer. That goes to claim, even if it's a totally irrelevant claim for a broken window or something like that. The insurer sees you've misled that. Okay, well, you've misled us about that. What else are you going to mislead us about? And throw out the claim. And that's why a lot of claims are underpaid, and that's why the comparison sites ask you so many different questions to try and trip you up. So they give you a cheap policy, you sign up for them, they're happy, and then you go and claim, and you've made an error, and you didn't know what you were doing necessarily when you fill in the form. Not intentionally, but everyone does it. We've all done it. It's the same when you do your car insurance or whatever other type of insurance you take out. You do the wrong thing, you don't realise it, and then you only realise it when it matters.
I'll give you another big example of what our insurance companies that we work with would cover you for, where someone like a comparison site may not. There's something called trace and access of water. And this is where you might have a leaky pipe somewhere and you've got damp coming through your wall, but in order to trace back where that leak's coming from, the person who's doing the repair work may need to make holes in the wall, may need to rip down some panels off the ceiling to be able to find that leaky pipe. And then once the pipe's fixed, to a lot of insurance companies, that's it, job's done.
Yeah.
But you've still got all these massive holes in your ceiling, your wall. They are classed as separate claims, whereas the insurance providers we use would actually not only fix the holes in the wall and the leaky pipe, I think they put warranties and guarantees in place to make sure that problem doesn't come back.
It's the same with all the repairs as well, not just that. But another good point you make on that is a lot of another reason why the insurance is cheaper, because that's one of the most popular claimed on things in the UK in terms of claim stats. They deliberately increase the excess payable on that to potentially up to £1,000.
Right.
And if the cost is only 2,000, would you then decide to claim, or would you just not claim because of the cost you have to outlay in the first place? Is it easier just to sort it yourself, and then you end up all these problems? And as part of, I'm pretty sure you're more of an expert on this, but when you have the mortgage contract, I'm pretty sure most solicitors expect a certain low excess for certain things, because otherwise it can cause these problems. And a lot of the cheaper policies don't have that, but you don't realise it until you read.
It's a real valid point, isn't it, when it comes to looking at mortgages, which we've done for years and years. But solicitors have a certain expectation, and they always want to see your home insurance, and they want it to cover certain things to a certain level. So you could accidentally void even your mortgage contract, couldn't you, by not having the correct insurance in place? So it's really, really important. Don't just try and go on a comparison site because it's cheaper. That's not the way to look at this.
And going back to what you're saying about claims and payouts, you might have your insurance company, that you've arranged, cheaper, lower cost cover might still pay out, but the level of the payout could be significantly less. So we had an interesting case where a client's central heating system had failed, that had flooded their kitchen, it had done some significant damage. We thankfully arranged the insurance, we were able to help them put their claim in. Their claim went in, and the insurance company were actually not able to fix and repair the central heating system. It completely failed, it was irreparable, it couldn't be repaired. What the insurance company actually did is they paid out a lump sum of money, which allowed that customer to replace their entire central heating system, and it repaired all of the damage that had been caused by that leak. The claim payout was somewhere in the region of about 14,000.
Wow.
Which was a great sum of money, and that client could have 100% found more affordable, lower premium insurance online, 100%. But what we can't do is we can't guarantee the outcome of a claim if you're going to arrange it somewhere else. We can't guarantee the quality of that insurance, whereas with the insurers that we work with, we know the ins and outs of that policy, what is covered, what isn't covered, and that's our area of expertise, or your area of expertise, and you can communicate that up front to a customer.
No, you're absolutely right. And for that client that claimed the 14,000, I've got loads of stories of very similar situations, but for that particular client, I'm sure when they got that 14,000, they were quite happy they didn't save £3 a month by going online and finding a cheaper one.
Even if they could have saved
which
£25 a month, they could see the value in having quality cover over cheap cover.
And that's.
We're not saying it has to be like platinum, ridiculously expensive.
Well, it's not.
But I think it's get the advice first before you start looking at the premiums. And if you're finding something cheaper, Seb's able to dissect all of these covers. If someone's been and found a policy online, and you want to have a chat with Seb can dissect these policies and tell you what's right and what's wrong with them, and how they're different from what we would offer and what we would recommend. So it's always worth, I think, having a conversation with someone like Seb, who can give you the correct advice for the level of cover that you need.
And I'm genuinely really honest. I speak to a lot of people. If you found a really good policy and it covers everything you need, and it's cheaper or whatever it is, and we've looked at the fine print, and I've run what we use is a de facto compare tool, which basically opens the bonnet of the policy and looks at all the different fine prints, how it covers different bits, and all the different stuff listed in that, and how it's rated as well with regards to an independent comparison, rather than we compare quality rather than price. And if it turns out to be that that's the best option, we'll recommend you go ahead with that, even if it's not with us. We do that for all the time.
Absolutely.
Because it's always
advice, isn't it?
It's advice first, and it doesn't matter to us really, as long as you have a good policy in place, that's the priority.
Absolutely. And this is something that we offer to every client. So all clients we arrange mortgages for, we build SEB's home insurance advice service into our process for all customers free of charge. So we will in every instance reach out to that client and give them the opportunity to have quotes and detailed tailored advice around their home insurance,
which is just the best advice, isn't it?
And
it's regulatory advice as well. It's something that everybody should be doing. So if your mortgage advisor isn't doing that, it's definitely something you should consider doing, either coming to us or elsewhere, because it should be now with every mortgage review as such, whether it's a remortgage, a buy-to-let, commercial, any deal, whatever you're looking at, you should always have a chat.
Even if you're a tenant that rents a property, I suppose you might have some things inside that house which are worth a few quid that you want to cover. Again, pick up the phone, have a chat with them.
And there are a couple of added benefits that we encourage customers to add to their building and contents insurance. Buildings and contents insurance is ultimately fire, flood, burglary, restoring the property possessions back to normal.
Another common one as well.
But we there are a few extras that you can add to a policy that we do encourage customers to take out. One of them, accidental damage,
particularly if you've got kids.
So tell us a bit about tell us a bit about what it really does, because it's not included as standard. It's an added thing.
Again, some providers say they include accidental damage. And actually, when you look in the fine print, it actually covers very little. Another thing, they say, we include accidental damage, but it only covers protection on your toilet, for example, or your hob tops or something like that. Very limited level. But they can say, we cover this against accidents because it listed on the policy. Not always the case. Comprehensive accidental damage for buildings, examples are things like if you put your foot through the roof, if you're in the loft, if you have a loft, if you break a window, it's quite a common one. If your kids are playing football, I know
experience.
We've all been there. And also quite a common one that most people don't think of is if you've got a busy life, you want to have a bath, you set your tap running on your bath, and then you forget about it because life gets in the way, and then you come back half an hour later and you realise it's flooded all the way down your landing or whatever. Another quite a common claim. It's accidental damage to your buildings. For contents, is a little bit more straightforward, but it's things like spilling, say, a Pepsi or red wine on your carpet. Can be quite a costly thing if you have expensive cream carpets or a sofa, as well as dropping your possessions like your laptop or whatever inside the home. That's generally considered as well. And
what about kids knocking TVs off walls?
Kids knocking TVs off walls. I mean, is like
or throwing things at TVs.
We've all had that in family experience. So and TVs, although the price isn't what they were, they're still worth.
They can be. They certainly can be, can't they?
And people don't. They think, if I do claim on that, it will then increase my premium, and the chances are it might. And there could be substantial premium, which
but the increase is often not very much, is it? It depends on the amount of the claim, really.
It depends on the claim, what the claim's for, and the circumstances. It's not black and white. And what we've got access to, because we're a whole of market, we've got access to providers that have a much better understanding of claims and understand claims happen. So, for example, you insure will allow one claim within the last 3 years and don't even ask you to tell them about it. They will just accept that, providing it's just a small claim, because they understand life happens and people have accidents, and the home insurance is there to be used. It's not just something you have to have. It's actually something you use on a regular basis. And then we can always move you between providers at the point of renewal. If your premium does go up because of a claim, we can look at ones that are more relaxed about dealing with things like that.
You actually found one cheaper for me, even with a claim, didn't you?
I did, exactly. Exactly.
So I have to speak from experience. I've actually used that myself.
That's good, isn't it? That's the seal of approval. And the other added benefit, which relates to this sort of claim that my client made, is home emergency cover, which is an amazing added really benefit. So tell us a bit about that.
And most people don't even realise that they can use it as well. That's probably a big thing. Is because
I think that actually was my claim.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's generally speaking across our providers. Again, it's something that they say is online, but it's very rarely actually a proper home emergency cover. But it's normally a 24/7 call out service. Yep. So, say to pick worst case, you had your boiler breakdown, and you've met all your clients. You looked after your boiler, but it's broken down on Christmas Day. It's cold. You want to look after your family.
Yeah.
You've got a separate number. They'll come out normally within a few hours. Even on Christmas Day, it's 24/7, 365 days a year. Yeah. They'll come out, look at it for you. If they can't fix it, they'll give you some money towards accommodation elsewhere in like a hotel or something like that.
Yeah.
That's generally the most common thing, but it also covers things like burst pipes, which are quite common.
Yeah.
If you go on holiday and you come back to a pest infestation, I can speak from personal experience. That's happened to me.
Well, okay.
So things like that are really useful to cover. But again, short-term emergencies, like we were talking earlier, if somebody does come and break your window, you think, oh, now I've got a massive gaping hole in my home. They come out and we'll board it up and look at it for you. So it's all these little bits that they add on. And some providers do include it as standard, others charge a bit more, but it is a really good option to have. And most people don't realise they have it. So if that is an issue you're having and you want to, we can help you, tell you where to go. Because I've had clients that were paying for it and we told them about it, and then, as most people do, you forget because life gets in the way. And then he rang me up saying, "Oh, I've just had my boiler breakdown. What can I do?" They came out. I said, "Here's the number." Gave it to him straight away. Sent him the details. He contacted them. They came out and they gave him, I think it was either 500 quid or 750 quid to a new boiler because they couldn't fix it.
That's not bad, is it?
And I think it was
better than not having it, and
exactly.
You might have paid an extra £5-10 a month for it, possibly, but
and he got that money back for the next 2 years of insurance as well because of that, and I think
and a new boiler,
exactly. Yeah.
So, okay. Well, that's really good. So hopefully that can give customers a bit of insight into service experience, how we can help our customers, but also just sort of raising awareness on the importance of getting really good quality advice about insuring your home, which, after all, let's be honest, it's your biggest asset.
Well,
you need to insure it correctly, and as well as you can. So
you insure your life, you insure your car, you insure your pet,
insure your mobile,
your phone, you insure your everything else. But you think, I'll save £5 on my home insurance, and then end up
crazy.
It's when it's the biggest thing you've ever paid for. So
amazing. Thank you very much, mate, and welcome to the Mewstone
family.
Welcome to the team.
Yeah.
Excited to get started. Let's go.
Get on.
Get on.